Whether we like to admit it or not, I'm sure most of us in this room have skipped at least one class this year. If you feel comfortable doing so, raise your hand if you've skipped at least one class throughout your college level education. That's what I thought. Almost all of us have done it. Now let me explain to you guys how and why this is a problem in today's world. As we just saw from that small activity, many college students do in fact skip classes. According to the Brown Daily Herald, about 25% of their students skip class at least once a week. Now, mind you, I just said the Brown Daily Herald. Brown University, as in the Ivy League private university. I can only assume that this number is much higher at a school like UMD and astronomically higher for less academically prestigious universities and colleges. In this same Brown University study, most of the students who skipped class said they did so due to them already knowing the information that was to be taught to them on that given day, or because they are overcommitted to extracurricular activities or clubs. The study also showed that more upperclassmen skipped than underclassmen, which shows me that there's a fatigue factor to all this, like the older students are just getting tired of the whole school thing. Another USA Today study came through with even more proof that skipping classes is an issue right now. The study reported that over their college career, 25% of students skip at least a year's worth of class over their college career. This shows that a ton of students don't see skipping class as an issue, when in reality, they're wasting a ton of money for whoever is funding their tuition and are missing out on educational and interpersonal opportunities by not showing up to their classes or meetings. So clearly skipping class is a big problem for a lot of college students right now. Now let me get into the cause of this issue, why they skip class so often. Most students don't just skip class for no reason. They have their excuses, whether they're valid or invalid. Some of these students skip class for personal, unacceptable reasons. According to Spaces for Learning, 37% of students who admitted to skipping said they did so to hang out with friends. There is so much more time for this outside of class in college. Your friends shouldn't be coming before your education in this situation at all. But some students just don't think this way. The study also showed that about 11% of students skip class to study, a very low number, while the remaining 52% of the pie's reasons consisted of doing recreational activities, being too tired, or the weather being too lousy. These are all poor reasons to skip class, as most of them can be controlled by the student themselves. Other students actually skip class due to their professor or the course at hand. Even as most of us are freshmen, I'm sure almost all of us have had at least one mind-numbingly boring class. These are definitely tough to get through, but we still need to show up and just get our work done. With this being said, according to Great School Voices, some students skip out on class because the in-class schoolwork is just too boring and irrelevant for them. The study also showed that students skip class because they've fallen behind in the course and/or they don't think the professor is willing to help them or support them. And of course, some students will just skip class because they don't like the professor. These are all poor reasons to skip class, in my opinion. The professors are there to teach. That's their job. Us students, while our choices are often limited, do in fact choose our own schedule and sometimes even have choices between which professor we want for that course. Yes, we do sometimes get unlucky when putting our schedule together, but no one is to blame for that but ourselves, for the most part. Students just have to suck it up and go to class or drop the class and see if there's one that satisfies their interests better. To help solve this problem, I'll be presenting a student-based solution, a professor-based solution, and an administrator-based solution. To stop students from skipping classes, we have to do something about the problem ourselves as students. According to the Odyssey Online, telling your friends about your skipping problem could be beneficial. Good friends are likely to hold you accountable for your problem and motivate you a little bit more to get to class. Since the friends know about your skipping problem now, it will cause you to have more motivation to go to class, because if you got caught lying to them about skipping, it would just be a messy situation. So therefore, you would probably start going to class a little bit more often. Other ways for students to stop skipping class would be for them to try to start their days earlier and think more about the future. Of course, the present time matters, but so does the future. If you start your day earlier, you'll have more time to do all the extracurricular activities that are keeping you from going to class. And then thinking about your future, think about how skipping will negatively affect your future educationally, academically, whatever, and will motivate you to go to class more often. Professors must make their course material as interesting and as engaging as possible in order to encourage students to keep coming to class. As I stated earlier, lots of students skip because the course is boring. If the professor makes the class more fun, or at least less boring, the attendance will surely rise. If professors genuinely want their students to succeed, the kids must show up to class. Therefore, I think professors must reward perfect attendance by giving out some extra credit points to those who complete that, and punish those who skip class with negative points or missed activity points. This is the age-old reinforcement motivation method that's proven to work in multiple situations. And to help the skipping problem, administrators must also be strict with their attendance policies and consequences. I think there should only be a certain number of classes students can skip until administrators are noticed. There should be a milestone list of consequences associated with a certain number of classes skipped. For example, 5 skip classes would be like an email from your advisor telling you to step it up, and it would just keep building up, and eventually, when the skipping gets out of hand, the consequences would increase to suspension or expulsion from the university, etc. All in all, college students are skipping class, and it causes issues with grades, wasted money, and much more. There are various causes for classes being skipped, but the most common ones just trace back to us students being lazy or selfish because we think we're too tired or the class is boring. I think this growing issue in our community would be effectively combated if my solutions were put into place.